Hello guys and welcome back to another Sons of the Forest guide. Today we're looking at Gables, and this is very much thanks to Farket releasing a video tutorial on them yesterday. So I do recommend checking out that video if you haven't seen it. I'll put a link to it in the description because without that video I wouldn't have been able to do this video where we're going to show you not only how to do this step by step, but I'll also be showing you this rooftop which I produced trying to simplify the system. Unfortunately it didn't work, and we'll talk about why in a little bit. Regardless to say, this is pretty funky and actually has its uses within the rooftop category if you're trying to do more complex designs. And I'll also show you this mini gable, which is perfect for doing corners. Again, we'll talk about this in a little bit. So if you guys do find this video helpful, please do hit the thumbs up. And if you do want to see more, don't forget to subscribe. For this video, I wanted to make it as simple as possible. So we're building on the floor. Imagine this is the rooftop level that you're going to be working on. And I'm trying to make it as simple to understand as possible. So we will talk about how to do more advanced designs after this, but for now we're going to try and just do a 4-way gable. So to start off with this, you're going to want to place a 2 wide by 2 deep grid to create the center square, and you're going to want to place cross beams within that. You're also going to want to place 2 beams on the outer section of the middle of each width, as you can see we've done here. If you're building on a square box like this, so here you have your room, when I say the 2 coming out the sides, all you need to do is to lift this up on each side and place another one there. What this will do is allow you to place a quarter log on these 2 parts on each corner. So you need to do this on each side. And that is what's resembled by these here. The second part of the process is placing down full logs in all of the corners as well as one in the center piece. On roof level, it should look something like this. And at this point, you'll be ready to move on to the third step. Here we have the third step, and yes, this does look a little confusing. Don't worry, we're going back to the second step and I'm going to cover how we build this. But basically, we're going to lift the center section by a single quarter log, and from there we're going to place whole logs on top of those so that they're on the middle points parallel to the beams in the edges of the build that we've just placed. So on your roof, you're going to place down your log and then cut it. And we're going to do this on each of the lines heading to the center. The reason for this is it allows us to place down these 2 pieces, which are going to be super important for adding the next level. In fact, we can do that now. We need to place the next level of full log on top of this. If you do not have this piece here, you will not be able to place anything more onto here. And at this point, now that we've placed down our quarter logs and we have the plank across, we can place just on the edge here in the center these full beams. So at this point, your center beam should be a quarter log higher than the rest of the logs that you've placed down, or pillars. Before moving on, the next thing that we're going to do is place planks in the center column here, and they're going to go diagonally to the middle sections that we've just placed. One thing to note, if you haven't placed the middle section down, you can still place the diagonal log and then this on top. This is not going to affect the build from my understanding at all. Now that we've placed the 4 beams diagonally from the center to the middle section, we can move on to the next part. So for this, we are going to place the horizontal beams along the border all the way around. You'll notice that the border is all one level, and that's because we're going to place down the horizontal logs are along one side, and then we can just chop off the top section to bring it down to one level. We're going to do this on each side, and then once done, you can remove the excess pieces here. And this is where we come to the fun part. From here, we're going to, facing the build, we are ignoring the middle pillar. This is because we want the slopes either side. From here, you can remove 3/4 of the log. This is important because in the middle section, we have our logs going down to a 1/4 log. If we had placed a half beam log for whatever reason, then it would be up to here and we'd have to do the same on this side. So we're going to remove the 3/4 so that everything is down to 1/4. And you'll note that we now have a diagonal line along here, and then this side and this side. This is what allows us to place the roofing, because you can only place the roofing if there is a if two pieces are parallel on one block. We're going to do this all the way around the build. And once you're done, it should look like this, a bit like a crown. We have the apex of the triangle going up in the center, as well as the middle part of each of the edges. And at this point, we can start roofing it. If you're unable to roof it for whatever reason, I would check the height of all your points. They should all be in line. And if you do want to place the middle beams, do this now prior to adding the roof, as it can be difficult otherwise. And at this point, you can see with us having a floor piece in hand that we can place the roof down along the diagonal, or if we turn this way, also along the diagonal here. And at this point, we can fill all of this in really quickly. One thing to note while doing the roofing, I highly recommend doing one piece of the flooring on each roof before you start to fill in the whole of one section. It's just going to make it slightly easier to find the snapping points. As you can see, we're struggling a little bit here. There you go. Once done, your gable should look something like this. And at this point, if you do want to extend it out, all we need to do is run a line across the bottom, chop off a couple of these 1/4 logs, and we can place a whole log now in the center. Grab our full logs and place them horizontally. And then these will go on the end, unfortunately, because we haven't got, there we go, a log there. We weren't able to, but you'll see we can remove this now, place this down, and from here we can start adding the roof, like so. Obviously, at this point, I should mention not everyone wants a 4-way gable. Well, what if you're doing a 3-way? Well, that's simple enough. We're going to go back to this step 2, I believe, step 1 even. And from here, all we need to remember is that if you're wanting to do only 3 sections of gables, you only want to do the lines out in each direction that you want to go. So here we have 3. We're going to grab our 1/4 logs and just place them where we need them. And the reason for doing this is that these 1/4 logs signify the peaks of the roof. And we only need 3 peaks on a 3-way gable. So we're going to place all of these down. And once we've placed where the 3 peaks are going to be, we're going to place down our center mast as well as the outer poles. And we're also going to add the beam across here and a full pillar on top of these 1/4 logs. Once done, we then need to add the diagonal pieces heading to the center. Now, the difference with this is because one section isn't going to have a pillar, it's not going to have a peak, we're going to place that just directly against the centerpiece and do nothing about it. Let's add the rest of these. And then at this point, we're ready to place the border around each of these sides, except along the center here. At this point, we have the 3 sides set up where we want the roofing to go for the gable. So at this point, we can jump across and we can cut the lower section of each of these. And we can do the same here. Now I have made a mistake. And that is, I forgot to place a quarter piece down. So we won't be able to connect the roofing up on there without changing that. So just lift that up by 1 piece and chop this bit out. And here we are, we now have a 3-way gable. So we should be able to fully roof this section and then also have this section coming outwards. I'll do that quickly and show you the finished piece. And here we go, we have the flat side on the back, and then we have 3 gables where we can add the roof coming outwards. So really happy with that. Really simple to do. Just note that you may want to enclose the outer wall section so that you don't see the half and half roof slope. The biggest problem that I've came across so far is with the L shapes, because I haven't worked out a way to do the outer corner on a slant. So as you can see, what I've done here instead is build the wall up like a tower, and then from there we're going to add a tiny little gable just on top. And you can see that here. The way that this is done is really simple. You're going to place down a grid really quickly, like so. And then from here, we're going to place down this piece of wood. We're just going to cut it in half. It doesn't really matter how many, like which piece you cut it into. You can do this with 3/4 or a 1/4 or a half piece. It really is up to you. Just make sure that each of the sections are the same. In fact, I'm going to try something a little bit different here. We're going to add these on top, and providing the opposite piece is parallel to the one opposing it, you can add your full pieces, and from here add a piece of roof or your stairs. But I wonder, let's just quickly do an experiment. If we place a 3/4 down and do it on the same on the other side, I presume what this will do is create one side that's going to be peaked slightly higher than the other. So we'll grab our 1 pieces. And if you check out my guide on advanced roofing, we cover this to a certain extent, and we go a little bit more in depth about other things that we can do. We don't cover gables because I don't know if they were available at that point, but do check out the video, you might find it interesting. From here, we're going to cover these up. From here, we're just sealing in the sides. Like so. And then once that's done, we can fill this with the slopes. Ooh, yes, very nice. Hadn't thought to do that. And so this one has a slightly higher peak. But you can see how we're doing the system here. And once you're happy with it, you can then place that on the top of just a normal square grid. It looks a bit like a church tower or maybe like an old school tower. But that's pretty cool to do. At this point, guys, if you are enjoying the video, if you're finding it helpful, please do hit the thumbs up and make sure to check out my other guides. I've got plenty on Sons of the Forest. And also, why not check out some of my creative builds that we've done so far as well. I'm sure you'll enjoy them. But at this point, I wanted to know if we could remove the quarter pieces at the bottom. The biggest problem for me seemed to be placing, once we have this piece, oh look, it does it straight away there. Placing the log on top, because you have this weird system, well, not weird system, where it just naturally wants to lift the plank up, which we can't have if we're trying to do a gable, because we need the slopes. And the solution to this is to, once you've placed one section down, you want to grab, let's just grab one from here, a slope piece. From here, we can grab another whole log and we can place this down. And this creates the system that we need in order to create the gable. However, there is one small problem with this. And the problem is that once you've done the kind of crown, like the border ready for the crown section, you'll note that once we cut these out, the problem is that this centerpiece is only one log high, and it needs to be 1 log and 1/4. So now that we've knocked down the corners, you'll note that the inner slope is steeper than the outer one. And this is because these were placed against the bottom and not on a quarter piece, which is what you need. Which means that once it comes to trying to roof it, that you're only going to be able to do the staired version. But I guess some people might like that style. So that is the reason why you can't do it without the single quarter pieces in the center, at the moment at least. The next thing that I wanted to talk about though is taking the same approach as we did with this. I discovered this. And this is because instead of going for the outer sections and chopping these down, I accidentally cut out the middle section. And when it came to roofing, it allowed us to do it, but it gave it this rather interesting wave look. So if you are interested in doing that, it's just the reverse. Rather than cutting the centerpiece out from this section that we did before without using the quarter pieces, if you cut out the centerpiece rather than the outer piece, it inverts and you're able to place this as a staircase, but it looks like a wavy roof simply because there are no real large gaps in it. So if you're interested in doing that, that's how I'd recommend doing it. But guys, we're going to leave it there. I hope you found this video helpful. Again, if you did, do hit the thumbs up, and we will be back with some more Sons of the Forest content very soon. If you're wondering what to watch next, why not check out this cliffside creative build that I worked on recently. I hope you enjoy it. But guys, we are going to leave it there. Special thanks does go to all of our amazing supporters, most notably our Solarclipse patrons, James Owen, Firefless, and Trebor, as well as our Lunas, the Calamity, Ben, Star, Shoku, the MN Wolf, and that dude AW, as well as our Blood Moon of the day, which today is Adam the Useless. Until next time, as always, ciao for now.